The war had lasted 7 years. 7 long years of blood and fire and death. Humans fought against the villain empire across 1,000 stars. No one remembered why it started anymore. They only knew how to keep fighting. Park Do-hwan was a medic. He did not carry a big gun like the soldiers. He carried bandages and medicine and hope. His job was to save lives, not take them. But in this war, even medics had to fight sometimes. Today was one of those days. The 14th. The Expeditionary Force had orders to attack Kepler Station. It was a villain outpost floating in the darkness of space. Command said it was a military base. Command said there would be weapons and soldiers inside. Command said to show no mercy. Do-hwan sat in the dropship with 30 other soldiers. The lights were red. Everyone was quiet. He could hear his own heartbeat. He could hear the breathing of the woman next to him. Private Kang Yoonji. She was young. Too young for war. But everyone was too young for war. The ship shook hard. They had arrived. The doors opened. Soldiers ran out in the smoke and chaos. Laser fire cut through the air like deadly rain. Do-hwan followed them, staying low, his medical bag bouncing against his back. Kepler Station was burning. The villain defenders fought hard, but humans fought harder. Room by room, corridor by corridor, the station fell. Do-hwan moved through the madness, stopping to help wounded soldiers. He wrapped wounds. He gave injections. He held the hands of dying men and told them lies about going home. Then he got separated. An explosion threw him through a doorway. He hit the ground hard. His ears rang. His vision blurred. When he stood up, he was alone. The corridor behind him was blocked by twisted metal and fire. He could not go back. So he went forward. This part of the station was different. The walls were softer. There were colors here. Pictures hung on the walls. Small objects sat on shelves. This was not a military area. This was where people lived. Do-hwan felt something cold in his stomach. Command had said this was a military base. But these were homes. These were bedrooms and kitchens and living rooms. Families had lived here. He moved slowly now. His boots were quiet on the floor. The fighting was far away. Here, there was only silence and smoke. Then he heard something. It was a small sound. A cry, high and thin like a wounded animal. But Do-hwan knew that sound. He had heard it many times in hospitals and refugee camps. It was the sound of a frightened child. He followed the cry. It led him to a room at the end of the corridor. The door was broken. Half the ceiling had fallen in. Dust filled the air like gray snow. And there, in the corner, buried under broken pieces of wall, was a child. Do-hwan stopped breathing. The child was Velen. He could see that clearly. Her skin was silver, like polished metal. She had 4 eyes instead of 2. Her small hands had 6 fingers each. She was the enemy. Everything he had been taught said she was the enemy. But she was also just a child. She was maybe 4 years old. Her silver face was covered in dust. Her 4 eyes were wide with terror. She was trapped under heavy debris. She was crying and shaking and so very small. Do-hwan's training said to report this. His orders said no survivors. The rules of war said the enemy was not human, so the enemy deserved no mercy. But Do-hwan was a medic. He had made a promise long ago to save lives. All lives. He had never added conditions to that promise. He had never said he would only save human lives. He holstered his weapon. He walked to the child and knelt down beside her. She screamed when she saw him. She tried to pull away, but she was trapped and hurt and could not escape. Do-hwan raised his hand slowly. He made his face soft. He spoke gently, even though she could not understand his words. "It is okay. I will not hurt you. I am here to help." He began to move the debris. Carefully, slowly, the child watched him with all four of her eyes. She stopped screaming. She was still shaking, but she was watching, waiting, trying to understand why this enemy was not killing her. A large piece of metal was pinning her leg. Dawan had to be careful. If he moved it wrong, he could hurt her more. He took his time. He worked slowly. The child whimpered in pain, but she did not scream again. Finally, she was free. Dawan examined her quickly. Her leg was hurt but not broken. She had cuts and bruises. She was scared and in shock. But she would live. He reached out his hand to her. She looked at it for a long time. Then, slowly, she reached out her own small hand. Her 6 fingers wrapped around his 5. He pulled her gently into his arms. She was light. So light. Her body was warm against his chest. She smelled like smoke and fear. Then he heard boots in the corridor. Human boots. His squad was coming. Dawan held the child tighter. He did not know what would happen next. He only knew one thing for certain. He would not let them hurt her. The boots came closer. Dawan could hear voices now. Human voices. His own people. He should have felt relief. Instead, he felt fear. The Velen child was still in his arms. Her small body was pressed against his chest. He could feel her heart beating fast. She was terrified. She did not understand what was happening, but she knew danger was coming. Private Kang Yunji came around the corner first. Her rifle was raised. Her eyes were sharp. She was a good soldier. She had killed many Velen in this war. When she saw Dawan holding the alien child, she stopped. Her face showed confusion. Then it showed something else. Something hard. "Lieutenant," she said. Her voice was flat. "What are you doing?" Before Dawan could answer, Sergeant Yoon Taeson appeared behind her. He was older than Yoonji, bigger. His face was covered in dirt and blood. He had been fighting hard today, thought he saw the child. His eyes went wide. Then they went narrow. "Put it down, Lieutenant," Taeson said. His voice was like stone. "Put it down and step away." Dawan did not move. "She is hurt. She needs medical attention." "She is Velen," Taeson said. "She is the enemy. She is a child." Taeson raised his rifle. He pointed it at the small silver body in Dawan's arms. "Command says no survivors. Those are our orders. No exceptions." The child made a small sound. She pushed her face into Dawan's chest. She was trying to hide. She could not understand the words, but she understood the gun. She understood death. Dawan's mind raced. He thought about his orders. He thought about his duty. He thought about everything he had been taught in training. Follow orders. Trust command. The mission comes first. But then he thought about his father. His father had been a doctor in a small town. He had treated everyone. Rich people and poor people. Good people and bad people. He never asked questions. He never turned anyone away. One night when Dawan was young, he asked his father why he helped everyone. His father smiled and said, "Because a life is a life." The moment we start deciding whose life has value and whose does not, we become the monsters we fight against. Dawan made his choice. He stood up slowly. He held the child with one arm. With the other hand, he reached for his medical bag. He did not reach for his weapon. "Sergeant Taeson," he said. His voice was calm. "I am a medic. I made an oath to save lives. All lives. I will not break that oath today." Taeson's finger tightened on the trigger. "You are a soldier first. You have orders. Then you will have to shoot through me to reach her." Silence. The only sound was the distant rumble of fighting in other parts of the station. Dawan could feel sweat running down his back. He could feel the child shaking in his arms. He could feel his own heart pounding. Yung looked at Tayson. Tayson looked at Dawan. No one moved. "You are throwing away your career," Tayson said. "They will court-martial you. They might execute you." "Maybe," Dawan said, "but I will be able to sleep at night." Another long silence. Then something strange happened. Yoonji lowered her rifle. She did not say anything. She just lowered it. Tae-sun stared at her. "Private, what are you doing?" Yoonji's voice was quiet. "I joined the army to protect people, Sergeant. Not to kill children." Tayson looked at both of them. His face was red with anger. But slowly, very slowly, his rifle came down too. "This is wrong," he said. "This is against everything we were taught." "Maybe what we were taught was wrong," Dawan said. Tae-sun shook his head. But he did not raise his weapon again. They moved through the station together. Dawan carried the child. Yoonji walked in front, clearing the path. Tayson walked behind, watching their backs. No one talked about what they were doing. No one talked about what would happen next. The child slowly stopped shaking. She lifted her head from Dawan's chest. She looked at his face with her 4 strange eyes. He could not read her expression. Velen faces were different from human faces. But he thought he saw something there. Something like wonder. She reached up with one small hand. She touched his face. Her fingers were cool against his skin. Then she made a sound. It was not a word. It was something else. A soft sound, like a song. Later, Dawan would learn that it was how Velen children showed trust. It was a sound they only made for family. The child had decided he was safe. They reached the extraction point. Human soldiers were everywhere. Ships were landing to take them home. Medical teams were treating the wounded. When the other soldiers saw what Dawan was carrying, they stopped. They stared. Some reached for their weapons. Some just looked confused. A captain walked over. His name tag said Kim Junwoo. His face was hard. "Lieutenant Park," Captain Kim said. "What is that?" "She is a survivor," Dawan said. "She needs medical care. She is Velen. She is a child. She is hurt. She is my patient now." Captain Kim opened his mouth to argue. But then he looked at the child. He saw her small silver face. He saw her 4 eyes, still wet with tears. He saw how she held on to Dawan like he was the only safe thing in the universe. Something changed in the captain's face. "Get on the ship," he said quietly. "We will figure this out later." Dawan walked onto the ship. The child was still in his arms. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know if he would be punished or praised. He did not care. He had made the right choice. He was sure of that. And as the ship lifted off from the burning station, the small Velen girl fell asleep against his chest, her 6 fingers wrapped tightly around his collar. 3 days passed. Dawan stayed in the medical bay of the human warship. He slept on a small cot next to the Velen child's bed. He fed her. He cleaned her wounds. He talked to her, even though she could not understand his words. He learned that her name was Lyrian. She learned that his name was Dawan. She tried to say it, but Velen mouths were different from human mouths. It came out as Dawan. He smiled when she said it. She smiled back. Her smile was strange, but it was real. The other humans on the ship did not know what to do with them. Some soldiers brought food for the child. Some brought small gifts. A soft blanket. A colorful bowl. They did not talk to Dawan. They did not know if he was a hero or a traitor. But they were kind to the girl. Other soldiers were not so kind. They walked past the medical bay and stared. They said ugly words under their breath. They called Dawan a fool. They called him a traitor. They said he should have followed orders. Dawan ignored them. He only cared about one thing. keeping Lyrian safe. On the third day, everything changed. Alarms screamed through the ship. Red lights flashed. Soldiers ran through the corridors. Do-hwan heard shouting. He heard fear in people's voices. That was strange. Human soldiers did not scare easily. He looked out the window of the medical bay. His blood went cold. A Velen warship had appeared. But this was not a normal warship. This was a behemoth. It was so large that it blocked out the stars. It was the biggest ship Do-hwan had ever seen. He had heard stories about ships like this. They called them world enders. One world ender could destroy an entire planet. One world ender could win a war by itself. And one had just appeared right in front of them. The human fleet scrambled. Ships moved into defensive positions. Weapons powered up. Everyone prepared to die. But the attack never came. Instead, a message came through. A single transmission from the Velen ship. One sentence, repeated over and over. Return what was taken or face annihilation. The ship's captain called an emergency meeting. Do-hwan was ordered to attend. He left Lyrian with a kind nurse and walked to the command center. Inside, the highest officers of the fleet were gathered. Their faces were pale. Their voices were shaking. They were looking at a screen that showed information about the Velen child. When Do-hwan entered, they all turned to look at him. Lieutenant Park, the admiral said. His name was Cho Sung-hoon. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. Do you know what you have done? Do-hwan stood straight. I saved a child's life, sir. You saved the daughter of High Matriarch Selveth. The room went very quiet. Do-hwan felt his legs go weak. Everyone knew the name Selveth. She was the supreme commander of the Velen Imperial Fleet. She was the most powerful being in the enemy empire. She had destroyed more human ships than anyone could count. She was death given from Dot, and Do-hwan had taken her daughter. Sir, he said slowly, I did not know. It does not matter what you knew, Admiral Cho said. What matters is what we do now. Another officer spoke. General Baek Minha. She was a hard woman with a scar across her face. We use the child. She is valuable. We can trade her for peace. Or we can use her to make the Velen do what we want. You want to use a child as a weapon, Do-hwan said. I want to win this war, General Baek replied. Do-hwan shook his head. No, I will not allow it. You do not have a choice, Lieutenant. You are a soldier. You follow orders, not this order. The general's eyes went dark with anger. Take him to the brig. And bring the Velen child to wait. Wait. Admiral Cho raised his hand. There is another problem. Look at the message again. They all looked at the screen. The Velen message was still playing. Return what was taken or face annihilation. Selveth did not say, give us the child, the admiral said quietly. She said, return what was taken. She wants more than just her daughter back. She wants something else. What does she want? General Baek asked. No one knew. Do-hwan thought about it. He thought about Lyrian. He thought about the way she looked at him. He thought about the trust she had given him. Then he understood. She wants to know if we are monsters, he said. Everyone looked at him. Think about it, Do-hwan continued. Her child was taken in an attack. She does not know if Lyrian is alive or dead. She does not know if we are hurting her. She is a mother who is terrified for her daughter. She is the enemy, General Baek said. She is a mother, Do-hwan replied. And she wants to know if humans are the kind of creatures who hurt children. She is waiting to see what we do. The room was silent. Admiral Cho looked at Do-hwan for a long time. Then he nodded slowly. What do you suggest, Lieutenant? Let me take her back, alone, unarmed. Let me show Selveth that at least one human chose mercy. That is suicide, General Baek said. She will kill you. Maybe, Do-hwan said. But maybe not. And if there is even a small chance that this could lead to peace, is it not worth trying? The Admiral closed his eyes. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he opened his eyes and made his decision. "Do it," he said. Do-Hwan saluted and walked out of the room. He had 1 hour to say goodbye to a little girl who had learned to trust him. 1 hour to prepare for his own death. 1 hour to change the course of a war. He walked to the medical bay. Lyrian was waiting for him. She smiled when she saw him. "Dowan," she said happily. He knelt down beside her and smiled back. "I am going to take you home," he said. The neutral station floated in the darkness between stars. It was old. It had been built long ago, before the war. Humans and Velen had once traded here. They had talked here. They had been almost friends here. Now it was empty. A ghost of better times. Do-Hwan walked through the docking corridor. His boots echoed on the metal floor. He wore no armor. He carried no weapons. He had only his uniform and the small hand holding his. Lyrian walked beside him. She did not understand what was happening. She only knew that Do-Hwan was taking her somewhere. She trusted him. That trust was both beautiful and terrible. Behind them, the human fleet waited. Do-Hwan could feel their eyes on his back. He could hear their voices through the communication device in his ear. "Lieutenant Park, this is Admiral Cho. You can still turn back. We can find another way." "No, sir," Do-Hwan said. "There is no other way. You are a brave man, Lieutenant. Whatever happens, remember that." Do-Hwan did not feel brave. He felt scared. His heart was pounding. His hands were shaking. He was walking toward his own death. He knew that. He accepted it. But he did not stop walking. The corridor opened into a large room. It was the station's main hall. Once, this place had been full of life. Now, it was full of soldiers. Velen warriors stood in perfect lines. There were hundreds of them. Their armor was black and silver. Their weapons hummed with deadly energy. Their 4 eyes watched Do-Hwan with cold anger. He was the enemy. He had taken their princess. And now he was walking right into their hands. At the center of the warriors stood a figure. She was taller than the others. Her armor was more beautiful and more deadly. Her silver face was like a mask of ice. Selve. Hetriarch. Mother of Lyrian. The most dangerous being in the galaxy. Do-Hwan stopped walking. He was close enough to see her eyes. All 4 of them burned with a fire that could destroy worlds. "You are the one," she said. Her voice was deep and strange. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You are the one who took my daughter." "Yes," Do-Hwan said. His voice was steady, even though his soul was shaking. "And I am the one who saved her." Selva's eyes narrowed. "Saved her? You attacked our home. You killed our people. You stole our children. And you call this saving?" Lyrian looked up at her mother. Then she looked at Do-Hwan. She was confused. She did not understand why her mother was angry. She did not understand why everyone was pointing weapons at her friend. "Dowan is good," Lyrian said in her small voice. It was the first Velen sentence Do-Hwan had ever taught her. "Dowan is friend." Selva's face changed. Just for a moment. Just for a heartbeat. The mask of the warrior cracked, and underneath, Do-Hwan saw something else. He saw a mother who had been terrified, a mother who had not slept for days, a mother who loved her child more than anything in the universe. "Come here, little one," Selva said softly. Lyrian let go of Do-Hwan's hand. She ran to her mother. Selva caught her and held her tight. She closed her eyes. She breathed in the scent of her daughter's hair. She was whole again. Then she looked at Do-Hwan. "You could have killed her," Selva said. "You could have used her as a shield. You could have bargained for your life. Why did you not do these things? Because she is a child, Dawan said simply. Because she was scared and alone. Because someone had to protect her. She is Velen. You are human. We are enemies. Children are not enemies. Children are just children. Selva studied him for a long time. Her warriors watched and waited. They were ready to kill him at her command. One word from her, and Dawan would die. He waited. He did not beg. He did not run. He just stood there, alone and unarmed, and waited for the judgment of his enemy. My daughter tells me stories, Selva said slowly. She tells me about a human who carried her through fire. A human who fed her and sang to her and held her when she was afraid. She tells me that this human protected her with his own body. Dawan said nothing. In the old laws of my people, there is a tradition, Selveth continued. If someone saves the life of your blood, if someone shields your child from death, they become part of your house. They become family. She stepped forward. Her warriors tensed. Dawan's heart stopped. Selveth stood before him. She was so tall, so powerful. She could crush him like an insect. Instead, she raised her hand. She held it out toward him, palm facing up. Her 4 eyes looked into his too. You protected my blood with your body, she said. By the old laws, you are now kin. I, Selveth, High Matriarch of the Velen Empire, name you Selveth kin. You are under my protection. No Velen shall harm you while you live. Dawan stared at her hand. He did not understand what was happening. He had expected death. He had not expected this. Slowly, carefully, he placed his hand on top of hers. Her skin was cool, like metal, but it was also soft, almost gentle. I accept, he said. Lyrian laughed and clapped her hands. She did not understand the old laws. She only understood that Dawan was staying. That was enough for her. Behind Dawan, through his earpiece, he heard Admiral Cho's voice. The old man was crying. My God, the Admiral whispered. He actually did it. Selveth looked at Dawan with new eyes. He was no longer an enemy. He was something else now. Something she had never seen before. A human worthy of respect. Come, she said. There is much we need to discuss. Dawan followed her into the Velen ship. He did not look back. He did not need to. He was walking forward into an uncertain future. But for the first time in 7 years, that future held something other than war. It held hope. Years passed. Many years. Dawan lived among the Velan. He had a room on Selva's flagship, the Star of Morning. It was small but comfortable. The walls were curved like the inside of a shell. The light was soft and silver. It was strange at first. Then it became home. He learned their language. It was difficult. Velen words had sounds that human throats could not easily make. But he practiced every day. He made mistakes. He sounded foolish. The Velen guards laughed at him sometimes, but he kept trying. Lyrian helped him. She was his teacher and his friend. She taught him words and songs and stories. She laughed at his strange accent. She corrected his grammar. She never gave up on him. In return, Dawan taught her about humans. He told her about Earth, about blue skies and green forests and wide oceans, about cities full of people, about music and art and food. Lyrian listened to everything. Her 4 eyes would go wide with wonder. She had never known that humans could be so beautiful. She had only known war. Tell me about your family, she asked one day. Dawan was quiet for a moment. My mother's name was Park Jian. She was a teacher. She taught children how to read. My father was a doctor. He helped people when they were sick. Are they still alive? I do not know. I have not spoken to them since I came here. Lyrian touched his hand with her 6 fingers. I am sorry. Do not be sorry. I made my choice. I would make it again. News came from the human world sometimes. Most of it was bad. Earth Command had declared Dowan a traitor. They had taken away his rank. They had told his family that he was dead. Some people called him a hero. More people called him a fool. But slowly, other news came too. The war was changing. At first, it was small things. A truce here. A prisoner exchanged there. Diplomats began to talk. Not about surrender. Not about victory. Just about talking. Selvith was behind it. She had started reaching out to human leaders. She asked questions about their culture, their beliefs, their dreams. Dowan helped her understand the answers. Why do humans fight so hard? She asked him once. You are small. You are weak. You live such short lives. Yet you never give up. Why? Dowan thought about it. Because we are afraid, he said. Afraid of what? Everything. We are afraid of death. We are afraid of being forgotten. We are afraid of being alone in the universe. So we fight. We build. We reach for the stars. We do impossible things because we are terrified of doing nothing. Selvith was quiet for a long time. Then she said, we are not so different then. More years passed. Lyrian grew tall and strong. She was no longer a child. She was a young woman, proud and beautiful. She had her mother's strength and her own gentle heart. She still called Dowan Talva. It meant second father in the Velen language. She had started calling him that when she was small. She never stopped. The war did not end. Wars never really end. They just become smaller. The battles became fewer. The deaths became fewer. It was not peace, but it was better than before. One day, a human ship came to the Velen border. It carried diplomats. Real diplomats. They wanted to talk about the future. Selvith asked Dowan to join the meeting. He stood beside her, a human among Velen, as leaders from both sides sat together for the first time in decades. The talks were long and difficult. There was anger on both sides. There was pain on both sides. People had lost friends and family. People had lost homes and worlds. Trust was a word that had almost been forgotten. But they kept talking. Day after day. Week after week. They argued and shouted and sometimes cried. But they did not stop. And slowly, carefully, they began to build something new. Years later, historians would write about this time. They would call it the dawn of understanding. They would say it was the beginning of peace between humans and Velen. They would ask how it started. How did two species who had tried to destroy each other learn to live together? Some said it was politics. Some said it was exhaustion. Some said it was luck. Clv. Eth gave a different answer. She was old now. Her silver skin had become pale. Her 4 eyes had grown dim. But her mind was still sharp. When the historians came to ask their questions, she told them the truth. It started with one man, she said. One human who made a choice. He could have followed orders. He could have looked away. He could have treated my daughter like an enemy. But he did not. Why did that matter? The historians asked. Selva smiled. It was a rare thing, a Velen smile. Because it showed me something I had forgotten. It showed me that your species could protect even those you had no reason to protect. A race capable of that is not an enemy to be destroyed. It is a mystery to be understood. Where is he now? This human? He is with my daughter. He is teaching her grandchildren about Earth. The historians left. They wrote their books. They told the story of the Great Peace. But they missed the most important part. In a quiet room on the Star of Morning, an old human man sat with a Velen woman and her children. The children had silver skin and 4 eyes, but they knew human songs. They knew human stories. They knew about blue skies and green forests and wide oceans. The old man watched them play. He was tired now. His hair was white. His hands were wrinkled. He had lived a long life, most of it far from home, but he was not alone. He had never been alone. Larian sat beside him. She was old too, by Velen standards, but she was still beautiful to him. "Talvi," she said softly, "do you ever regret it? Leaving your people? Coming here?" Dalwan looked at her. He looked at the children. He looked at the stars outside the window. "No," he said. "I made a choice a long time ago. I chose to protect a scared little girl. Everything else came from that. The peace, the understanding, the family." He smiled. It was a human smile, but the Velen had learned to understand it. "One act of kindness," he said. "That is all it takes. One act of kindness can change everything." Lyrian took his hand. Her 6 fingers wrapped around his 5. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you for saving me." "Thank you for choosing me," he replied. Outside, the stars burned bright. Human ships and Velen ships flew together through the darkness. Children of both species played on shared stations. A bridge had been built between worlds, and it had started with one man who refused to look away from a Comtrud's frightened child. That is the human way. That is why we reach the stars. Not because we are strong, not because we are smart, but because we choose to care. That is our greatest gift. That is our legacy, and it will last forever.